Board Vice President, Mrs. Lisa Pelosi.
Present.
Clerk to the Board, Ms. Shawn Mora.
Present.
Trustee, Mrs. Jeannie Kerr.
Present.
And Trustee, Ms. Jean Marie Wolf.
Present.
Also joining us are St. Helena Unified School District office staff members, Superintendent Dr. Jody McClay, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Christopher Heller, and Chief Business Official Dr. Kay Vang. Oh, I've got some more. Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board, Ms. Erica Madrigal. Executive Assistant to the Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Melissa Hanson. IT System Administrator, Mr. Bryce Humphrey. And IT and Network Administrator, Mr. Jared Mullicane. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Public comment on closed session items. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on any closed session agenda items? Okay. Okay, we are going to head into closed session. Thank you.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1.
I don't know what it is. I think I don't know what she does, but she does something, and it makes it.
There is tiramisu in the refrigerator for me. The students prepared a dinner for us this evening. Well, it was like a early bird dinner at 4 o'clock. But yeah, we made pasta, fresh pasta, carbonara, and garlic bread. I know, like I'm really heavy right now. That's how good it was. I was like, and then we didn't have time for dessert. Well, I mean, they had lemon bars and cookies.
Yeah.
And then they had tiramisu, but it's in the refrigerator little box.
Is it like the cooking class or something? Or?
It's a culinary class.
It is. Oh, nice.
And so one class was learning egg cookery, and the other class was learning pasta making.
Nice.
It's very cool.
That's great.
Yeah, I know. 12 of them in
You
there.
get to do it every board meeting.
I know, I know. I don't know if Chef would like that from us, but it's tasty.
Like, your kids need to be dispersed, you need to be. Because the whole thing started with, Caitlin saying, she does math and does it. Sorry. Oh, let's. Okay, so Belinda came to you, that Caitlin was looking for their dad.
except for when I say.
And the funny thing is, when I got busier, that's when COVID hit, and I didn't have Zoom or anything, so like a lot of that dissipated because I couldn't meet up with people. We didn't really know like keeps visit, certain things like that. So
Okay.
Can you see? Because I couldn't see.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All righty. For those of you who've joined us after closed session, welcome to this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I'm Laura Simon, Board President, and I'd like to introduce my fellow trustees. Lisa Pelosi, Sean Mora, Jeannie Kerr, Jean Marie Wolf, and the Student Board Representative, Andy Martinez. I would also like to introduce our district staff. Superintendent Dr. Jody McClay, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Christopher Heller, Chief Business Official Dr. Kay Vang, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board, Ms. Erica Madrigal, Executive Assistant to the Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Melissa Hansen, IT System Administrator, Mr. Bryce Humphrey, IT Network Administrator, Mr. Jared Mullicane. Additional staff members are joining us in the audience. Director of Educational Services, Mrs. Araceli Roma Flores, Director of Facilities and Maintenance, Mr. Mike Flores, Director of Food Services, Mrs. Justina Ledesma, RLS Middle School Principal, Mr. Andrew Ryan, St. Helena Elementary School Interim Principal, Ms. Kathy O'Connor, St. Helena Primary School Principal, Ms. Rebecca Rocha. We are delighted that you're viewing in person on television channel 27 or on our YouTube channel. A copy of this board meeting will also be available on our website at www.sthelenaunified.org. In connection with items 4A and 4B, the board received information and provided staff with direction. In connection with item 4C, the board will conduct the superintendent's progress report after our regular meeting. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 6A, public comments at our board meeting. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on items not on the meeting agenda? Okay.
Thank you. All right, so here is the school board representative report for this month. So for St. Helena, a few weeks ago was Red Ribbon Week, and a range of activities in the quad happened during access. Games like games like impairment goggles and Coca with the popo, and the impairment goggles were basically like these little goggles that you put on, and it basically like puts you through if you were kind of like on alcohol, I guess. And it was pretty cool experience. Then I attended a safety meeting to give student perspective on procedures and policies, as well as share the students' experience. And then me and my fellow Student Congress representative, John Oliver, we had our first Congress meeting on the 7th of October, and there's a representative was chosen from each advisory class to attend these quarterly meetings, and our purpose is to engage in conversations about school culture and climate and take action to address growth in areas such as interpersonal relationships, including harassment and bullying. And then we gained a lot of feedback from people in Student Congress, and we took that feedback and shared it to our leadership class for us to do more progress with that. And then for football, there's a home playoff game this Friday, and the football team has been undefeated, 10-0 in league, and they brought back the league title.
That's great.
Yeah. And then for the RLS, it was National Bullying Prevention Month. Students in Web highlighted the importance of the Stop It app, as well as Red Ribbon Week. There was dress-up days for the week to raise awareness about dangers of alcohol, tobacco, and illegal drugs to prevent violence. And then there was also visits from the police officers where students could participate in activities with police officers. And then they also had their first school dance, the masquerade ball dance. It was organized by leadership with a masquerade theme. And then on Halloween, they had a Halloween costume contest where all 6th and 8th graders could participate. And yeah, and then Miss Helwig's 7th grade, I entered Miss Howard's. I love Miss Howard, by the way. I entered Miss Howard's class, 7th grade period, and 4th period science class, and they were learning about the 3 main rock types and how they are formed. And then those are just some pictures on Halloween. The staff dressed up as emojis, which was pretty cool. Can't even lie. And then for the elementary school, 5th grade student council with Miss Ashley and Miss Emring. And for the month of October, it was Socktober, and it was a huge success. They raised 1,007 socks for the unhoused community in Napa County. And then they have a whole bunch of Dia de los Muertos altars who were students who made them in Spanish class with Miss Rubio. And it is to honor loved ones who have passed away. And then they also had their fall music concert, the 5th grade music festival, and St. Helena Music Academy fall concert led by music teacher Mr. Binder. It took place in the auditorium, and also the 4th graders took a field trip to Sonoma State Historic Park, learning about the history of California missions. And then the elementary school was also recognized by the ERP for high performance on CAS testing. Then for the primary school, 2nd grade classes also made Dia de los Muertos altars. Kids were able to decorate their altars and bring pictures of their loved ones who have passed away. And then Miss Quintana's 2nd grade writing class, I talked to 2nd graders Nora, Sunny, and Eleanor, and they were focused on writing their writing journals. And their main focus was to write mini stories and correct errors in capitalization and punctuation and spelling. And then student spotlight, I went into the special education class, and I met Teddy, who was a wonderful kid. He told me he dressed up as Hercules for Halloween, and he said that his favorite candy was Kit Kat, and he has a little brother named Jenny as well. And then for the Day of the Dead, ELAC parents helped serve hot chocolate and pan dulce for students. And they also had a Halloween parade at the high school where K through 2nd graders visited the high school to show their amazing Halloween costumes. Yeah. And those are a bunch of pictures.
Cute. Adorable.
Any questions or comments?
Questions?
Thank you. That was
I have kind of a funny question for you. So, when I was reading the high school report, they talked about Coco and Popo.
Coco with the popo.
Okay, I read it as when I was growing up, there were 2 clowns in this town. One was Coco and Popo, and I'm going, Coco and Popo. So, okay, thank you. I was like, okay.
Oh, that's so funny. Glad we clarified that, Trustee Wolf. All right. Andy, thank you so much for your report. We always appreciate them every month.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to move on to 7B, introduction of the new Director of Food Services. Mr. Heller.
Great. Good evening. And I recently got the opportunity to interview our new employee, Tina Ledesma, as our new food service director. Tina, you want to stand up and just stand by the podium so they can see you? Thank you. Tina lives in West Sacramento, where she's resided for most of her adult life after being born in Tacoma, Washington, as a child of military family. She is married and has one son who is a high school freshman. One of the most interesting aspects of her interview process was her documentation and promotion of food service via TikTok and Instagram, highlighting new menu items. I did a quick follow, and it showed how she makes a chicken broccoli pasta bake, which actually looked really delicious. She has many ideas to infuse within food service, but for now is just working on continuing to establish relationships with staff and learning more about district operations. She's really impressed with the connectedness of the district and how everybody knows one another here. Her first-year goal is to continue to fine-tune efficiencies within the food service department. And a fun fact that she shared is that she used to make wedding cakes, and her best was an 8-tier wedding cake that Buddy, the cake boss, would be proud of. We'd like to welcome Tina. Tina, will you say a few words?
Welcome.
Well, first off, thank you, Chris, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for the warm welcome. Again, my name is Justina Ledesma, but I do go by Tina. As I dig into this department, my focus is serving the staff of the food service department, and not only the food service, but most importantly, our students. So as I dive in, I really look forward to engaging with the community, engaging with our students, and most importantly, the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Come around, shake everybody's hand. Yep, yep, do the little handshake.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It's like at the receiving line.
glad you're
Hi,
here,
Tina.
yeah.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. My birthday's on May 1st, and I love vanilla cake with strawberries. Thank you. Just
she's
in
not
case.
joking.
No. No, thank you. Have a safe drive home.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on to 8A facilities. I'd like to call on Dr. Vang. Thank you.
Thank you, President Simon. I'm going to start off by just sharing some information about property claims, the claim process, and best practices. I am not sure if I've shared with our board that we have new leadership at NBSIA, North Bay Schools Insurance Authority. And with the new leadership, there are changes in terms of what's considered best practices. And one of those falls within property claims. Our practice prior to the new leadership was if there were property claims, we would work with NBSIA, and as we go through the process of construction repairs, we would forward invoices to NBSIA for payment, and the district would be more or less a pass-through entity. That is not the best practice, and so new leadership has implemented some changes, and those changes include clarifying that NBSIA's coverage is designed to reimburse districts. All the districts are part of our JPA. When there are property losses, we as the district, because we are the owners of the property, we pay for it, and then we turn around and seek reimbursement from NBSIA. If the construction repairs are going to be extensive and a substantial amount, we can seek an upfront payment, and then we'll reconcile at the end of the project to ensure that we have sufficient funds to cover the project, and if they've given us more than sufficient funds, we'll return what is due to them. NBSIA is not they are not authorized to act as the awarding body. School districts are the awarding body. It's our property. We are responsible for that. The JPA, the insurance, is there to support us in terms of getting the coverage taken care of, but we own the property. So bottom line is, we are the ones who enter into the contracts with the contractors and the vendors, not NBSIA, and that's also to protect all members in the JPA. So with that said, I have John from Greystone West. He is going to basically represent the schematic design and budget schedule for the elementary roof drainage and HVAC project. What he is presenting will now also include the scope of work that the insurance is responsible for paying for, but because, again, the district, it's our property, we have to own it, so it now has to become part of our scope of work, and then we will turn around and seek reimbursement from NBSIA. So, because the work that, the interior of the 4 classrooms that were damaged during the rainstorm, that will be covered by the insurance, but that has now also, it has now also impacted our DSA in the sense that there is the path of travel. So the project, the interior reconstruction has now triggered DSA in terms of the path of travel. So that cost we are going to add to our costs that we're going to seek reimbursement for from NBSIA. So I'm going to turn over to John because he's going to do a much better job of explaining the scope of work that's going to be the district's responsibility versus what we project or what we are saying is NBSIA's responsibility. Okay, so John?
All right, thank you, Dr. Vang. So as Dr. Vang was mentioning, in June we brought this project to you for the buildings A, B, and E to do the roof, the HVAC, and the windows. And there was also some storm drain work that was associated with that. Now, because we are adding the interior infrastructure work to at the 4 classrooms, A1, A2, A3, and A4, we need to do a budget augmentation. So we're coming back to you to ask for additional funds for that, and I'll explain that a little bit more. So first, I'll just give you kind of that general project information. We'll go over that scope that you approved back in June. We'll also identify what the added scope is. We'll kind of give you a little bit of a rundown on, make sure that we're on the same page with the site location and the scope of work at that location. Review the cost estimates as well as the schedule, and then open it up for any questions. So the scope of work as approved in June was the removal and the replacement of the existing roofing and the flashing. We'll create slope at the roof to achieve a proper drainage so that it gets us to those those existing roof drains. Right now they're not at the low point, so all of the water is ponding up, finding its way into the buildings. We'll reframe that sawtooth walls at the roof structure to provide for adequate flashing modifications. We don't have enough room from the top of roof as it is before it wraps up the wall and can get behind that flashing, so we're going to go ahead and build that up, and we need to get 6 to 8 inches for roofing warranty best practices. We'll remove and reframe the existing flip failing clear story windows. The bottom of the sills are close to the roof, top of roof, and so those two need to be built up to allow for that adequate spacing. We'll remove and replace the existing rooftop HVAC units. We'll replace the roof drains and add overflow drains. And then we didn't have it on there last time, but we did talk about it, was the storm drain improvements. With the drain that goes underneath the building now, we're going to go ahead and reroute that. So this added scope of work is the interior finishes at Building A. It would consist of new cabinetry, new flooring, new wall finishes, new ceiling work, new marker boards. And then, as Dr. Vang mentioned, it does trigger some additional ADA work with DSA. So what we're adding there is a new ramp, and we'll show you that ramp. Additional grading and new asphalt on the backside towards Oak Street. And then we'll waterproof and install the concrete. There's some planers that are up against the building at Building A. So this just shows you kind of the area that we're looking at. Buildings A, B, and E, they're hashed out on the screen. And I'll go one more. This is a split of the classrooms, A1 and A2 on the left-hand side, A3 and A4 on the right-hand side. But the reason why I wanted to show this is because it does show the ADA ramp that needs to be added. So with that, we need a path of travel out the back side of each of these classrooms. And so right now we're figuring that we're removing all of that asphalt. We may not need to remove all of it. It just depends if we can make sure that we can get appropriate grading for drainage and for path of travel. Right now, all there is that stairway that kind of between A2 and A3. I don't know, is this, and I don't know if it works, but it works on the wall. Anyways, I think we can all see the ramps that we're talking about. So the original cost estimate had our construction budget and all of the contingencies and blueprinting, DSA inspector fees, construction manager fees, architect fees, CEQA, legal expenses, then we had some miscellaneous expenses in there. But our budget that we had approved was $4,160,000. Our revised cost estimate is now an additional $620,000 more, so we're $4,780,000. And so what I did was I went through and I did a cost estimate based off of the latest set of drawings that are going to be, that are working towards going to DSA. And we've added that interior work as well as this ADA work that we just talked about. I have been in contact with the insurance company, and I've given them a breakdown, an initial breakdown of what I anticipate those costs to be. And I do know Erica has that estimate. We'll bring that up in a moment. But I did send that over to the insurance company, and he's asked for additional breakdown. So we're working with them, with their construction estimator, to make sure that we're all on the same page there as far as what we're anticipating. But the real numbers are going to come when we get a contractor selected. So, sorry, we'll go over the schedule. So again, we approved the concept design back in June, and since then we've been working on schematic and design development. We're in the construction documents phase now. DSA registration is taking place in December, and we sort of got pushed back on that a little bit from the original schedule just because of this additional work. So we're currently in the contractor RFP selection process. We have received proposals from contractors, and we are next week doing interviews. And so we will be bringing back a recommendation for a contractor with pre-construction services. We'll be bringing that back at the next board meeting on December 11th. With that, we will start the pre-construction services process. That'll take us December, January. That'll be a constructability review as well as an in-house estimate and some on-site investigations. And then we'll get into the contractor bid phase. So they'll start bidding that project out early January, pending DSA comments, right? We're hoping that we can get some DSA comments. We'll see DSA right now. There's a new code cycle coming out, so we're in a rush to get the drawings in before the end of the year, so that we're not impacted by that, which we will. And then at that point, we will kind of continue with that process. Hopefully we can get comments back before we go ahead and bid it. We'll hopefully award in March, and then we'll start that submittal and procurement process, getting HVAC units. We may try during the pre-construction services time, if we can get enough information, get some HVAC units ordered and submitted on, as well as secure that roofing material. And then there may be some finishes that have longer lead items than we're currently tracking. So we're going to we will stay on top of that. Construction will be a June of 2026 through August of 26, and then we'll do the closeout once school's back in session. It'll take about a month to do the closeout, the punch list, and get all of the as-builts and warranties in for everyone. We're set to open up for questions, but Eric, if you could bring up that spreadsheet real quick. So I know this is maybe a little bigger. Yeah, so what you, there you go, that's fine. If you go up, okay, so you could see where I highlighted what I anticipate insurance paying for. And if you scroll to the left a little bit, that kind of shows that demo of the asphalt. That's the asphalt on the backside by Oak Street. The concrete stairs need to get demoed. We will build that new ramp. There's some fine grading to recontour that asphalt. There'll be some new asphalt in that area. Have to be a handrail at that ramp. And then keep going down. I believe I've got, there you go. So this shows the finishes, the classrooms. All of the demo has been done for the most part. All of the flooring is out. All of the walls, the sheetrock has been removed from all of the walls with the exception of there's some plastering up at the raked portion of the classrooms that we'll have to tie into. We'll have to paint new acoustical ceiling tile on the flat section of the roof of the ceilings, insulation. There'll be a little bit of demo that has to take place, as well as some electrical rough. And we're taking this opportunity right now. There are electrical and data that are run surface mounted. So we're taking this opportunity to go ahead and bury them in the walls to have a clean look when we're done. And then you can see the cabinets. We have to redo, all the cabinets have been removed, so it'll be all new cabinetry, lowers and lower cabinets, upper cabinets. There's some full-size cabinets there, and then some marker boards. And the rest of it is part of the original estimate. I do have at the very bottom for sinks, because there are sinks in each of those classrooms. So that all gets extrapolated out, and that's sort of what the insurance company has asked me to do. So I'll need to go apply soft costs associated with everything as well. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, John. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
You know we do. Okay, so I mean, the demo in those classrooms happened quite a while ago. I mean,
Correct.
having seen those myself. So that's not something an insurance would normally reimburse for anyway, correct?
I believe the insurance has paid for all of that demo because it was associated with
With a natural disaster, if you will?
exactly, and they
Okay.
didn't want any growth of any molds or anything like that. So
Okay.
they went ahead and they removed all that, and then they prepped. There's that diagonal sheeting. They bleached all that and removed any kind of growth on that.
Okay. And I think, can you speak to the $50,000 worth of miscellaneous expenses on that budget? Can you give us an idea of what that 50 grand is a placeholder for?
Yeah, I'm placeholding that right now for any additional survey or topographic information that we're going to need.
Okay,
And then there also may be some connection fees with the city for connecting the new manhole that we're putting in for the storm drain into the city system.
okay. I'll stop from there and let somebody else go.
Anyone else?
I had one question. You mentioned that the project would be completed in early August, and then, what did you call it, closeout? Was that what I
Correct,
wrote?
closeout, yeah.
Now, and you talked about finish work. Are the classrooms usable from that date of completion? When you say, are people in there working on it, or
Yes.
what does that mean?
So essentially, that construction is, that'll be the time for all the construction to take place. There will be punch list after that, where they'll have to come back and they'll have scrapes on the wall, or, maybe some flooring that doesn't pass quality control. And the architect will come in and do a punch list on that. And that's right before school starts, right? And then what will have to happen is the contractor will have to come in on weekends or
Okay.
nights to go ahead and get that.
So it
or
isn't going to
holidays.
disrupt class
Correct,
at
and
that
that's-
point when
that's-
school starts?
Exactly, and that's
Okay.
customary with all of the summer work that we do. that it
Okay.
falls in that.
Great, thank you.
My question is really about the added scope and the request for the added budget. I guess, the added scope slide. So from what I'm trying to understand of what you were describing before John started to speak, so all the interior finishes in Building A, we're paying for it up front, but we'll get reimbursed according to
Yeah.
Excel file.
We're working with MBSIA and their estimator to make sure that we're on the same page. We're doing it now. I'm doing an additional breakdown for them to make sure that, yes, we're on the same page, that the cabinets are going to be paid for by insurance. Once we get the bid from the contractor, we'll have to do that again. We'll sit down with them and with the insurance company and make sure we'll go over each of those costs, and we'll have it separated so that they know exactly what it is. If there's additional breakdown that's
Sure.
necessary, we'll.
So for
Let's call
now, are you assuming that there's a zero cost impact? So the 600, sorry,
It
what's
was
the
like
new?
520, 540 was.
Correct.
The
It
new
was
is
620 total, but by the time I
620,000.
applied a rough soft
So
cost.
is that assuming no cost to us for the cabinets? Because you've put in,
All
I'm
of
trying to
the work,
understand where the
yes.
620 is coming from, I
Right.
guess is what
So
I'm
all
saying.
of that work that was identified in the spreadsheet on the right-hand side where it said insurance and then coming down, I believe that that is all stuff that the insurance should pay for. I've sent that to insurance, and insurance, my initial indication from them is that they agree with that.
That spreadsheet is full scope, though, not just added scope, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's where I was, I'm
Yes.
struggling to
Yeah.
understand the 620. And does the 620 not include the cabinetry finishes in Building A, and it's really only this ADA work?
This 620 includes the cabinetry, the flooring, the wall finishes, the ceiling work, the marker boards, as well as that identified ADA work.
And if we get that money back, the 620 scope increase is actually not 620? I'm
Correct.
Okay,
Th-
that's
the,
what,
the idea is
Okay.
that this is not costing the district anything additional. It'll all be reimbursed by insurance.
everything on this scope increase is the hope.
Everything on that
Okay,
scope increase.
I did not
yes.
understand that.
Yes.
Thank you.
With the exception of the electrical that we are putting in the walls that was surface mounted before. So there is a cost in there
Okay.
that the district will be on the hook for.
Was that a line item that's easy to understand, or
That
is
would
that?
be on the electrical line item that I had there.
The electrical rough outs, it was.
Correct. You want-
102,500, okay. I was trying to understand the net scope increase.
Yep.
Or financial scope increase to us, assuming insurance does pay out for the items you believe they will.
Absolutely, yes. No, it is a bit confusing. It's a little bit different than any of the other projects we've brought forward
Okay.
because the insurance involvement and that added scope.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, would you confirm, it is not 100% certain yet that insurance
Yeah.
will reimburse us for all of this?
I don't have anything, I don't
Right.
have a 100% guarantee
That's
from
what I wanted to be
insurance,
sure that the
But-
board knew.
Right.
Thank
but
you.
we are working with them so that when we execute the total base rent contract, we will coordinate that with the insurance company to make sure at that point, as we are all along, that they're good with the actual numbers when they come in.
Thank you.
So just so I understand it, so we're going to pay it all up front, and then we are hoping, like a year from now, that we'll see additional money come back to us when insurance pays. Will that come back into our fund?
As soon as we get an invoice, once the insurance approves it, when we get an invoice, we turn around and Brad immediately invoices NBSIA for reimbursement. So we are not waiting till the project ends. As we get invoices throughout the project, as it's completed, we are submitting for reimbursement. So that's the way we're approaching this. Once we get a firm confirmation from NBSIA that these things are going to be covered, like I said, we have the option of seeking upfront costs from NBSIA, or we can do it this way where we, as we go along, we seek reimbursement. I think that this might be a better route for us, but if the board feels that, hey, no, we want the money up front from NBSIA and we don't want to fork out anything out of pocket, that is also a conversation we can have with NBSIA because they are open to that,
Okay. Given the dollar amount.
given the dollar amount.
okay.
And
And
I
then we would reconcile at the end of the project.
Okay.
I could foresee construction starting, and if you do opt to get that lump sum from NBSIA, I could see construction starting and some of those costs going out the door before you get paid from NBSIA.
Okay.
It is possible.
My follow-up question then is for the ADA component of work, because it looked like maybe the more expensive area, or maybe not. Sorry, I was glancing at that very quickly.
Sure.
But is it common for an insurance company to reject? I guess what I'm trying to say is, how much of a risk is it for the ADA piece, which we did not have in our original scope, that we are paying it without reimbursement? Maybe you can't answer that, but
Well, I I think because it was triggered because of the interior work, in our opinion, it's only fair that NBSIA covers that because it was triggered because of the interior reconstruction that needs to be done. If we were just focusing on our work, that would not have triggered the path of travel, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
but it's
we
the
believe
state
that-
requiring it, not insurance, right?
Right, but it's tied to what the insurance would have to have covered in the first
Okay.
place.
So for example, when we had to do ADA work for the Boys and Girls Club, that was covered by insurance?
Exactly,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
And we did have a meeting on site with 3 individuals from the insurance
Yes.
company plus their estimator. And I haven't gotten any indication in the correspondence I've had with them that they are rejecting that portion.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'm a little curious how in the future maybe we can be smarter about some things. Like I'm thinking RLS Field, all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we didn't build an exit for fire trucks to come in, and that was an added expense. And now, like an ADA ramp seems like that would have just, yeah, we're going to need that. So how going forward with projects can we do a better job of maybe anticipating these things or not having things sneak up, I guess? Is there a way that we can be more
So-
forward thinking?
Codes do change as part of what we're dealing with. So that path of travel was acceptable at one point, but as time goes and the evolution of codes, it becomes not up to code essentially. And so what we try and do is when we anticipate a project, we'll build in like a 20% for an ADA requirement, because even if we've done a project or done an entire site 10 years ago, well, within the next 10 years, those codes are going to change. And so there is going to be additional work that they're going to require.
In this project, though, we didn't have that in our original at all, did we? An ADA ramp or taking those steps out? That was,
I did not have
Okay.
that specifically included. I did have an ADA allowance, but because of this additional work, it just kicks it up to the additional requirements.
Because it was a DSA standout,
Correct. It's correct.
which, in other words, when DSA calls it out, it's now a known exposed entity, and you cannot just dismiss it and say, we're not going to build this ramp, especially being ADA. It's out in the open now, and you've got to address it.
So because we are touching those classrooms is what
Right.
triggers. Originally,
Yes.
we weren't touching those classrooms, so it wasn't triggering
Yeah.
that exiting.
It could have been a matter of feet, right? If the project was 10 feet away from a classroom, it would have changed.
I guess what Jean Marie's saying is, let's review the ADA codes when we're touching something. Obviously, it could be, a code could change within that year. Probably unlikely, but let's make sure that those are
And in our
accounted for.
facilities master plan, we've gone through and identified locations that we can in terms
Okay.
of path of travel or ADA as it relates to restrooms or heights of sinks kind of thing. So we do have some money built into that facility master plan
Okay.
that we've created.
thank
And that's just something that is kind of living. So we have to keep every year kind of going back to that and making sure that, maybe conditions get worse. Maybe there's tree roots that push up, a path of travel, and all of a sudden it was in compliance, but it's not now. So
On that same line, my question for you, if you can educate me on this, is the added scope of work involving the ceiling, the cabinetry, et cetera, why wasn't that on the original?
So I believe originally the idea is that insurance was going to have that done and kind of by their contractor. But there's been this change in protocol with NBSIA and how they want to handle it.
So that's why it wasn't on there, because it was originally supposed to be
Correct.
changed by it was going to be built by covered by the insurance.
Covered by the insurance as part of that initial claim.
So initially, when we brought it to you, we only brought what we were going to be doing on our end, what we were going to be responsible for. But once the change in best practices came from NBSIA that they were no longer going to continue their old practice, then that's when we had to pivot and say, oh boy, we're going to have to bring this back to our board, explain this to our board, and make sure that we're all on the same page. So that's what happened. Was there was some transition with NBSIA, and then it came to a point where we had to bring this back to you, because now we're going to cover it and then get reimbursed for it unless we ask for an upfront cost.
Okay.
Think about it like the insurance will say, look, we will pay to repair the damage, but the cause of the damage, the roof, right, or the storm drain, is a maintenance issue, and that's something that the district should pay for.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
I do. So just with this conversation right here, so that's different than the Boys and Girls Club, where it was, they came in and they took care of, it was, even if some of it was our responsibility, they would have taken care of all of the weather-related stuff.
With the,
And it,
yeah,
because it
with-
never came our way because it was handled by the insurance. then.
Exactly. With the Boys and Girls Club, 100% of that was covered by the insurance. So right from the beginning, they came in, they took over, and so we didn't have to worry about bringing any scope to you, because the contracts, the awarding body at the time, the old practice was NBSIA was the awarding body. They were the ones entering into the contracts with the contractors and vendors. That is no longer the case. The district is now the awarding body. We are the district that's entering into the contracts with the contractors and the vendors. So there's a change, a pivot here, and thus the difference. So what we are used to, in terms of, for example, what we did with Boys and Girls Club, is no longer the case with any of our property claims moving forward. We are responsible to enter into those contracts. We'll work side by side with NBSIA, but they are not the awarding body.
And then just a clarifying, or just maybe just to, so it looks to me as though the $620,000 increase, we may be reimbursed by about $541,000. So we'll actually be paying about $80,000 of the additional scope. Does that
So that
sound right?
520,000 is a hard cost, and we have to go through, and I need to basically take a percentage of each of those items identified in our soft costs and attribute that to the 520 that adds to it.
So that's
Because there's additional DSA fees associated with that work, so insurance should pay for that. There's additional architectural fees associated, so that all goes to for the insurance to pay.
okay, but it looks as though, it sounds to me as though the insurance will most likely pay the majority of the the main $620,000.
That's the anticipation, yes.
Okay. And then my final question, and this is a difficult question because we don't know what the future is, but between now and when we have the contractor set, we get a contractor, they get their subs, they start ordering all of the materials and stuff. Do you think that there's going to be an increase as far as pricing? Will you come back to us and say, I guess maybe I should say, what is the percentage chance of this price now going up in April or May because of the fluctuation of prices?
There's always a chance that it'll go up. We try and build that escalation into our numbers that when we give you the budget. But tariffs or
That's what I'm
if
thinking.
fuel goes up, there's always that chance. I try and be conservative enough so that I don't have to come back to you and ask for additional money, but it does happen from time to time. I don't anticipate it will happen in this case. I think we'll be able to order the HVAC and the roofing material early enough, and those are kind of the two big items. But there is some asphalt, so asphalt's directly related to the price of fuel.
Right.
And if we're anticipating a 6% escalation and it goes to 9, well, we have to make that up somewhere. Hopefully we have some fluff in other areas.
Okay, okay. And then I just thought, one more question, then this is an easy one. What was my question? It was a DSA question. It just left me, so I'll think about it. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Any more questions?
Well, how about on a positive note? We had a lot of rain today. How did the primary school do? Did the roof hold at the primary school?
It's a whole different question.
We didn't have to put any buckets out today. We were all good.
Yeah, I think-
Okay. Well, see, there's a positive.
I think the reports from
Okay.
from the primary were good.
Fantastic.
I'm sorry, President.
Absolutely,
I've got
go
it.
ahead.
So this is the question. So with this insurance, we have to build like for like, similar to the past. Okay, okay.
Yeah, but a lot of, yes, the issue is that those finishes, from back when it was last remodeled to now have changed a bit. So within reason.
Okay.
And again, we're going to, once the spec's fully developed, that's another thing that we'll have to go over with the insurance company.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve the schematic design, budget, and schedule adjustment for the St. Helena Elementary School roof, drainage, and HVAC project as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Andy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We'll move on to business operations. 9A, review and approve the E-rate applications for Category 1 broadband and internet services and Category 2 internal connections. Dr. Vang.
Thank you. For this item, we're asking the board to approve the 2 E-rate applications. One is for Category 1, which is internet services, and then Category 2, that's really like our infrastructure. I do have our E-rate consultant, Rich Tunheim, in the audience, should the board have more in-depth questions. But the bottom line here is that we, as a school district, we are applying for these 2 categories, our E-rate applications, because with E-rate, it helps us as a school district based on the factors that are utilized to determine our discount. St. Helena Unified actually qualifies, we're eligible for a 70% discount on these services and equipment. So it helps the district by making, by allowing us to have modern, high-speed broadband and internet network infrastructure that's affordable. So with the 70% discount, that means that the district is only responsible for the other 30%. Currently, we are utilizing Sonic for our internet services, and that contract with Sonic ends on June 30th. And so with the end of that contract, we are required to submit a FCC Form 470. And so Mr. Tunheim has worked with me and our previous IT director. We've identified what our needs are. We've put out an RFQ, RFP, and we've had several bids. And in front of you are the 2 bids for each one of those categories that met the criteria and score the highest. So for the Category 1 for internet services, the best bid went to Sonic, and for Category 2, the infrastructure for the Juniper switches, the best bid went to CDWG. Our Juniper switches, I've been told by our IT department that these switches are about 10 years old. They're experiencing memory issues, and so it is critical that we purchase these new switches so that our IT team can then install and configure the new Juniper switches to keep our infrastructure moving at a speed that's going to be conducive to all the technology that we have in this district. So again, we are asking the board to approve these two applications.
Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this?
I don't, they've been answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Oh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we're going to have a contract show up to purchase these? Because they weren't in this cycle of contracts, or were they in the under 25K and now I'm missing it?
No, they were not, because they
Okay.
have to be approved
So
here. So
we
you have the
approve this.
Sonic
Okay.
and the CDWG that I've included in here.
Okay, because when you said we're going to purchase it, then I was like, wait a minute, I didn't think there was a financial vote tonight on this. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the E-rate applications for Category 1 broadband and internet services and Category 2 internal connections as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Andy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 9B, contracts over 25,000, November 2025. Dr. Vang.
All right, so we have two contracts over 25. The first is for Alliance Glass Company. It is my understanding that prior to my tenure and to Mike's tenure here, the maintenance department had started and completed several phases of window tinting for safety reasons. And there are still a couple of buildings that, at the elementary school and the middle school, that we need to finish up this project. So I'm bringing forth the Alliance Glass Company contract, which is obviously over 25 as one of them. And then the second contract is for ProCare for a special ed register behavior technician. And again, this is for special education.
Okay. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
I have one. Did we receive more than one bid for the window tinting?
Yes, we always get a minimum of 3 competing bids.
Okay.
And Mike and I actually reviewed all 3 of them, and this was our best pricing for
Okay.
what we were looking for.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I just had a quick question on the ProCare. I saw it, blah, blah, blah. It said November through June or May, whatever it said there, November through June. Has this person already started, or would they, since it's November, 13th, or would come on board after
They
this?
are, I believe they are starting tomorrow.
Okay, so we better say yes.
Any other questions?
I just did, I was writing something when you were talking about the glass install. This completes all windows that need it, or is there anything remaining?
To our knowledge, Mike, are we done? I believe we are done, but I believe that in speaking with our maintenance department, my understanding is that some of the window tinting that was done earlier, the quality, you can see, because you're supposed to be able to see from the inside and not from the outside, but some of the earlier tinting that was done, we may need to revisit those. Mike?
Yes. And to my knowledge that I was told, those are the last wings that were left off of that previous bout of, tinting that happened.
Okay. And then now I'm thinking about the elementary school. We're not replacing windows, or are we? We're talking about getting them further away from the roof, but are we replacing windows, and do we need this film on them?
No, because those ones are up on the roof, and those are essentially saddled right next to where the AC units are.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, there were.
We are replacing the clear story windows,
Yeah.
I see.
and then we're infilling the one where the HVAC unit is. But those will not get the tint.
Okay, thank you.
Do you happen to know, is the window tinting, is it a 3M product by chance? Do you know what they use?
It's an elevated question.
I'm just curious, because that's a quality tinting.
It's listed on there. In being completely honest, I'm not
I wasn't
familiar
sure if I
enough
was
with
just kind
window
of-
tinting.
it's certainly not an urgent
I
question.
did
Mike.
reference the last round and essentially duplicated that last round.
Okay. That's okay. Maybe,
Yeah.
I'm familiar
And I
with that
agree with
product.
you, 3M is a great product.
Yeah, so that's why, and I just recently have been involved in a project that used it, and it was really great. So I couldn't extract it from the estimate. It doesn't really say what it is. So I just was curious. And my curiosity could be satisfied at a later date. It's not a problem. So thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Andy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Item 10, consent agenda. The consent agenda contains routine items judged as appropriate to be acted upon in one motion. If a board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda, the item will be considered under discussion action items. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Yeah, I'm gonna get, trustees, do you have any questions?
President Simon, I would like to pull item K from the consent agenda, please.
Okay,
I would like to pull D.
okay.
And D.
A and D, okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items D and K as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, so let's go to item 10D, approval ratification of field trips.
What I wanted to ask, I think we had talked about at previous board meetings or years ago that we had established 3 field trips per grade level at all grades from K through 8. When I was looking at the high school field trips on here, non-ag field trips, I guess what I was hoping that we as a board could take a look at what we are offering to our field trips for our high school students, since they don't do field trips by grade level anymore because everybody's in electives and different paths. So I guess what I was wanting to request is if we can approve the field trips that, I guess, all except those that start in March that are at the high school. I would just like the opportunity to be able to look at what field trips we are offering at the high school to make sure that we are distributing field trips to the largest majority of children that we can. I haven't seen that comprehensive type of a view or a plan, and I just wanted to make sure that there is one.
I believe Mr. Cinto has, I've seen it at one point, he has a rather large spreadsheet. I think it's a live document, a Google document that teachers put in their requests, the rationale, the date, who would be going, how many, the cost, et cetera, et cetera. He holds that, so we could get that and share it with you if you'd like to see.
And maybe bring back, I don't know if we need approval on these since they're in March, I guess is kind of my question.
So
Yeah, I know. I'm just curious.
my immediate instinct to that is particularly that Catalina Island trip, that if there's a reason it's coming to us so early because of the planning and deposits and this, I'm of course speaking with past historical knowledge. I don't know. I can also speak to the festival competition, that those same kind of things, you have to enter in those quite early in advance. I think your point is totally valid, but I'm hesitant to not approve these 3 trips on here, given that we have the holiday season coming up. There's gonna be, 1 week in December, almost 3 weeks. I don't wanna jeopardize these that are already being planned because we have to wait one more month. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know when, I hadn't thought about the due date for registration, so
Yeah,
that's fair.
and deposits, I just know that those kind of things happen.
Yeah.
So, no.
Okay, and I understand the concern. I always, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about what's fair, what's equitable, at the K through 8 experience for children, every grade level has some sort of field trip. But where is the equity when they get to high school? If you have a certain class, you get a certain field trip. If you don't get any experience. So moving forward, in order to not miss any deadlines, looking at this moving forward, how can we receive from Principal Cinto some sort of document that shows us which classes are getting which field trips, to really see if there are any inequities with students not having any experience if they don't participate in certain pathways or certain additional
And
electives.
the other concern also is that the final 2 are actually taking RLS also. So now we have students at RLS that are getting 2 additional field trips.
Well, some high schoolers may be getting none. Is that your
some high-
concern?
I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I share that concern as well.
Well, I think it'd be, I understand what you're saying, for the equitable part of it. I'm curious to, if there are some guidelines to a field trip, like, for instance, I'm thinking of FFA. They go to vine pruning, they go to welding, they go to floral arranging. Are those considered a field trip, or is that a competition? So is that really fair to call that a field trip when it's almost like an athletic event in a sense? Is it going to a football game as a player a field trip? So I guess maybe we need some more guidelines of what we consider a field trip
And if you'd
and
like
who
to
it's
take,
open to.
if you'd like to take a peek, Mr. Cinto is watching. Hello, Mr. Cinto, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
He just sent it to Miss Madrigal and
watching
asked
it
that
on
we
his
put it up. If you'd like to just have a quick peek.
Wonderful.
But while we're looking at that, I want to speak to a comment that may not be super well received, but I have to remind everybody, as a board, our job is not to decide what field trips look like. That's not the board's decision. Our decision is to look at this as a consent to make sure the equity piece is very valid, absolutely, but we have to mind our lane a little bit. This is what I'm getting nervous about. It's not up for the board to tell a site principal, to tell a teacher what they can and cannot do. Because by the time this gets to us, it's been vetted by a few different people. And I'm just really, I want to be respectful of our role and the role of the sites. Does that make sense? And so I feel a little nervous that we're teetering into a lane that we may not fully need to be into. Does that make sense? I understand what you're saying. And the reality is, for me at high school level, and a little bit to an extent at middle school, if you are choosing to do a program, there are different things that come with that program. That may be a field trip. I can think of the drama when they used to go to New York. And yeah, that's a pretty great opportunity.
But they weren't missing school. So I'm also thinking about.
Oh, so so that's a little bit of what it's
I'm thinking
about.
of like a
Okay.
student achievement and
Okay.
time away from school.
Perfect. I'm glad that you
Sorry.
added that
Yeah.
in. Okay.
Which-
I just want to be mindful of that.
And thank you. I think that's a really critical point. And one of the things I asked Ms. Madrigal to scroll over to the right so that you can see, again, I always get a little nervous putting something up that we haven't vetted. We have seen this. I knew that Mr. Cinto had it, but you'll see at a quick glance that some are denied for those very reasons. And one of the roles of a principal is to look at, what is the curricular relevance? How critical is this trip? How supportive is it of the actual learning and the content standards that students are supposed to get? How much has the teacher been out? If the teacher's just taking, say, second period class, but if the teacher's been out a lot, then, we have to consider the other students during the day. How much of these students miss class? What are the costs? How far is it? Can they get it closer? There's a whole bunch of factors that go into it, but this gives you kind of that 30,000-foot quick view. If you'd like to look at it more in depth, maybe we form a subcommittee or something, or I can get principals together, but I understand what you're saying about equity. I do want to respect our principals' ability to work with their teachers on where they go. We also look at sub coverage, right? Do
Right.
we have enough subs? What will it cost? A lot of factors. But you can see here that many are approved, some are denied.
Right.
For me, that level of education is vital for me as a board member, so
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
that level. Thank you.
So trustee Moore, so your concern, so originally I thought what your thought was, your concern was that that maybe the high RLS and I'm just gonna say high school, so we're looking at the high school, it's not, they're not getting the advantage of having the district pay for as many being their experiences, field trips as the K-8 or K. That's what I originally thought that you were where you were going. So
That's where I started when I was looking at this. So
Okay.
I did not do a great job explaining what I was looking at. But it's a little bit of, I see 3 for band. And that's where I was thinking, I have to remind myself that there are all sorts of other field trips, but I would like to have that. I don't see it comprehensively because we get
Right.
these piecemeal, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure. And then then I think of the RLS is going on 2 additional, and RLS students have 3, and this is 2 additional. So
Right.
it's
So
time, it's just,
time away,
it's
that's what, it's
time
more
away.
time away, time away.
Yeah, and
So it's not that finances of it, it's more the.
No.
Yeah, okay, got
it's
it,
a-
got
no,
it, okay.
it's not, that was not my motivation.
Okay.
No.
Got it.
And
That's
I-
total.
For me, it's a little finances, because some of these field trips are very pricey, and does that take away from the opportunity for other field trips to happen? And I mean, it's just something to think about. I think they're wonderful experiences, but they're very expensive.
Well, we used to have a subcommittee of field trips. We did that quite a few years ago. But we had it a long time ago. It went away and then it brought back. But, I mean, that's something to perhaps, in meeting with Dr. McClay, you can determine if it's
Yeah,
worth,
absolutely.
when you have weekly meetings or whatnot to see. But, because it is, a comprehensive review is good to know. But I still kind of stand by my line that we are just the final overseer of this list, because by the time it gets to us, it should have been well vetted from many different layers of admin. And I'm just want to be, I'm feeling very strongly respectful of that process, is what I'm trying to say. So,
And I totally agree with you. We don't want to step in. I guess my thought is, should there be a delineation between a field trip versus a competition? Do they fall in the same category? As going to the Hall of Science is a little different than 12 kids going to compete in a welding competition. Like, I don't think of that as a field trip. And I'm not trying to get my hands in that, but I almost feel like they're different categories to me,
Absolutely.
and I look at, like, FAA will have 20 things because of all their different teams, but to me, those don't feel like a field trip like we're going, you know what I mean? And again, it's there, but that's just kind of how I see it, is they're almost a little different, a competition versus a field trip.
Yeah.
okay.
So.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay.
That was a good discussion. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so we are going to move on to 10K, and then we'll approve, or should I just approve them separately?
I think you should do D, if you would,
Okay.
now, and then K will be separate.
All righty. Okay, give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Is there a motion to approve 10D as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to move on to 10K. Approval of Personnel Register 25-4.
Okay, and for item K, I'm recusing myself because my son appears on the personnel report. There is no financial interest, but as required by law, I will abstain from voting on this matter.
Okay,
So as I did last month, I will remove myself from the room and I'll step back in.
okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve 10K as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Be back in about 7 minutes. Okay, thank you.
How was your day today, Andy? Was it all right? Okay, good, good, even though the rain, it didn't kind of.
Yeah, it kind of changed my mood a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, whenever it's raining, I'm fine.
I know. I just wanted to like stay home and watch movies. Okay.
A little nervous, but I am feeling good about it though. Uh-huh. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That helps us a lot too. Like we feel like their energy, like them screaming, them cheering for us, and it's amazing. All this other additional stuff. It is.
Oh, and here, I know, I can hear it too, yeah. Yeah. I know, because who announces the games? Is it not still Daryl Corsi, is it?
Honestly, not sure.
You know, because I used to always hear his voice, because the same thing, I'd open up my slider and I'm like, oh yeah, you can hear the cheers. It's really good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
There's a chance.
It's really low though, I think.
Low, yeah. But
Not like today. Oh god, my mic's.
you never know. Anything happens.
But my mic was on. I don't know. Who was the announcer?
Going to move on to 11, communications, 11A, board member reports. And I'd like to call on Trustee Kerr.
Good evening. So my report is on Robert Louis Stevenson Middle School. I visited Robert Louis Stevenson Middle School on Tuesday, November 4th, accompanied by Dr. McClay and Mr. Ryan. It is always such a joy to be around the students and to visit the classrooms. And I do want to say that I did prepare something this evening because I'm going to be talking a little bit about the thinking maps. So I can have information about that, real information. Our first stop was Miss McGue's 7th grade English class, which was my first induction to Thinking Maps, which is in the early stages of use in our district classrooms. Thinking Maps are visual tools designed to enhance learning by organizing thoughts and information through structured diagrams, promoting critical thinking across various subjects. Thinking maps are a set of 8 visual patterns that correspond to specific cognitive processes. They're used to help students organize their thoughts, understand complex ideas, and improve their problem-solving skills. When I first saw the visuals in Miss McGue's class, it reminded me of a Venn diagram because they are both visual tools and are used to organize and display information. The difference is that thinking maps are flexible and can be combined to further organize and process information, whereas Venn diagrams are more rigid and used to compare only 2 items. There are several types of thinking maps. There's actually like 8 types. A couple of them, or several of them, there's the a circle map, bubble map, double map, and flow map. The different types of maps have different purposes. For example, a circle map is used for brainstorming and defining a topic. A bubble map is used for describing a subject using adjectives. A double bubble map is used for comparing and contrasting 2 subjects, and a flow map is used for sequencing events or steps in a process. I'm really impressed with the enthusiasm of our professionals wanting to learn more about the use of thinking maps, and the training model that we are using is where a small group of educators were trained, and then those teachers are training other teachers who are interested. In my opinion, it adds another level to our professional learning communities, as the training is for any educator at any grade level done by teachers that have already gone through the training. Therefore, it gives our educators another way to connect with one another with in order to elevate our students' learning. Also on our visit, we visited Mrs. Kurt's 6th grade English class, Miss Allinson's 7th grade math class, Mr. Sasser's 7th grade AVID class, and Miss Shearer's 6th grade math class, where immediately when I walked in the door, BTC was happening, and it was in full force, and the kids were absolutely on board and there and focused. And it was pretty amazing. When we walked in, I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks good. It's like, it's working. So I was very impressed with that. It was. And these are the 6th graders, so you could tell that they did have experience in the lower grades. I really appreciate all of our educators' interest in the thinking maps. There's a lot of enthusiasm around it right now. In fact, Miss Arceli's leadership she was the one that trained the other teachers. The 3 of the teachers are Dana Simon, Emily Corsini, and Lauren Magoo. And so but tomorrow there's actually going to be a thinking map session where they're training 10 to 12 other teachers, all in ELA or ELD 612. So end of the day, it's in a way it's a teacher initiative, and it's nice that way because everyone feels that they want to get on board. And I think that when I was in Mrs. McGue's class and just seeing all the visuals of the thinking maps, I think it's going to be a really good way for our students to kind of envision their learning and being able to kind of, like I said, kind of use critical thinking and see how things move within a sequence and things. So thank you for your time. Thank you very much, and thank you also Dr. McClay, for your time. I really enjoy visiting RLS. I definitely need to get over there more often because I was there for maybe hour 15, and it seemed like it just went by really quick. So that means I need to get there more often. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to move on to 11B, Superintendent's Report. Dr. McClay.
All right, good evening. I will be brief tonight. I have just 3 things I want to update you on. The first one is a brief update on our transition from the district of choice model to the inter-district agreement transfer model, DOC versus IDA, as you have come to know it. Before we walk through this chart, though, just a few points of interest. There are 49 students currently on the interest list that Ms. Madrigal is keeping. She has started updating the families of those 49 students monthly with here's where we are in the process, and here's what we believe it's going to look like. We will be bringing a resolution to the board in January to grandfather in the current DOC students. We think it's a good idea to memorialize that because kinders, first graders, if they are grandfathered in through their senior year in high school, a lot can change with staffing between now and then, and we just want to be sure that we have respected those families and the fact that they were super excited to get in on DOC in the first place. So we want to be very, very clear about that, that they will be grandfathered in. Staff is also making minor revisions to the board policy and the associated administrative regulation. We will bring you those in January as well. And then we did want to show this timeline here that Ms. Madrigal beautifully created. She's very talented in this regard. So we sat down and we mapped out basically these dates for the process. So you'll see that on January 2nd, the application window will open officially. On January 8th, at the regularly scheduled board meeting, we expect to have the board adopt your caps for each grade level. February 12th, about 6 weeks later, that was our target, was to have the window open for 6 weeks. Families and students will be expected to submit their packet. Notice the key word there is packet. It's not just bringing in the document that says that their home district is willing to release them, but it also has some other requirements. Their most recent attendance reports, discipline reports, grade reports, assigned IEP if they have one. Again, this is all designed to make sure that we can, in fact, meet the child's needs. We have room in the program, etc. So those will be due February 12th. We will then have a small panel at the district office that will review all the applications against our programs, our staffing, the caps that the board has established for each grade level, with a goal of notifying those accepted by March 2nd. And that is in advance of when other local schools are requiring deposits. That was a target for us this year when we sat down to map this out, is let's make sure our families aren't in an awkward position of having to put multiple deposits down, things like that. We want to get people notified as early as possible. We're also giving them a deadline by which they will need to commit March 16th. Failure to do so by that date would allow us then to go down and perhaps potentially admit other folks who didn't make it in by March 2nd. Because remember, the IDA process is rolling. So we will keep a list throughout the year and be able to admit students as time, space, and program permits. Okay? Secondly, we wanted to share with you the governance calendar revisions. So as you will recall, the board has asked over the last couple of months to add some agenda items and some presentations on both student achievement and math. So we are proposing, if you look at the middle row, the proposed additions, which really focus on student achievement, we've strategically put them in certain months based on when we think we will have that data. And then we're proposing to add a few in math. We're not asking you to take any action on this tonight. With your consensus, this will become kind of our fluid working document between now and June. And then when we bring back our typical year-long planning documents, such as the superintendent committee assignments, trustee spotlight school assignments, you'll recall we started doing that in June or July for a full school year. we will bring this officially at that point as well. But between now and then, we will operate on this and try to bring in more student achievement and more math into the meat of our meetings, okay? And then the third and final one is super exciting. Saints varsity football players. Go Andy, right? They have made the playoffs. They are playing Sonoma Valley High School tomorrow night here. We are home at 7 p.m., and we are extremely grateful for a generous community donation that will allow all students free entrance to the game. So we hope to see everybody there, all students as well as many staff, trustees, community members as possible, okay? Go Saints.
No Saints, yeah.
Very exciting. Thank you, Dr. McClay. We're going to move on to,
I just had a
sorry.
question. Do you have to formally open it up to
No.
questions?
No.
Okay,
No,
I'm
no.
sorry, I was waiting my turn. I just had a question on the IDA for the packet that people submit. I know with DOC, we do in district, we validate the information that we are provided. Is there some level of validation of what we're being provided, or if something is omitted? Like, how does that work?
Yes, we will have a pretty strict, and you know Ms. Madrigal is very organized and detail-oriented, and we will have a very strict process. Without a full packet, it won't even go to the panel for review. So it will be as if we aren't even accepting. In fact, a few folks have tried to drop off a piece here or a piece there, and we are saying no, the window opens January 2nd, and we will only accept a full packet. And yes, school district relationships are tight and close-knit, and we will very easily and quickly be able to get on the phone, verify things, ask follow-up questions, et cetera, because again, it really is about making sure that we can meet the child's needs who are coming here, and that it is in fact best for that family, the school, the program, et cetera.
Okay, and then in the process, I think we've talked about this previously, but the actual selection process, assuming the packet goes through, is there still I know we had 3 different categories within a DOC, but like if you have a sibling in already, is there any type of a preferential?
So that's all dictated by law under IDA.
Okay.
So yes, siblings are guaranteed under IDA, provided there is space. So once one student is in, then the other is in, provided there's space.
And that's the
So-
only priority category?
I believe so. There might be a couple for military. There's a military compact now in the state that has a component within IDA, but we won't set those.
That's a separate one, though. I thought we always have that, the military IDA, regardless of DOC.
Which one is that? Sorry. Oh, okay, yes. Okay, so Ms. Madrigal's reminding me, there are 3 reasons, I believe, under Ed Code, but those are the same as what has always existed.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
I had a quick question on that. The deadline, February 12th, so even though it's rolling, if someone shows up in March, we're not taking an application? I mean, say if we had 5 spots and nobody applied for them, we just are empty of those 5 spots?
No, we will take applications, but that deadline is for what we're going to consider for March 2nd notifications.
Okay, but we would still
yes.
take them
Yes.
after that?
As a
Okay.
rolling, IDAs are accepted all throughout the year.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to tag on to Trustee Morris' question. So siblings are guaranteed, but they still have to provide the packet and disclose all those
Yes,
reports? Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And we still have to have space.
Okay.
So as far as the panel review of applications, then it goes to the panel and then there's notification, or is there any, like a lottery or something as far as the caps, or how is that going to work?
No, under IDA, there's not a lottery. They'll be date stamped when they're submitted. So there is priority the earlier you get it in. That's typically how it's done. And then there's a wait list for spots, for those who don't get in.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is a dumb question, but are we staffed on January 2nd? the day after New Year's? If that's the first day, is the office open?
Yes,
Fully?
we're open.
Okay, sorry.
We live here.
Oh, that's a good
Valid
question.
question.
And it's over our lunch location too, so.
And then I guess I just want to make sure that we're going to open the window January 2nd, but we will notify people right away that it's like, get your application in because it's a,
So they're already getting, those on the interest list are already getting updates from Ms. Madrigal?
and they're date stamped that they came in first. I guess what I'm going back to is this priority list. We're going to make it clear that as of January 2nd, get it in that day, you're higher in the priority list.
Yes, that will
Okay.
be clear.
Thank you.
Okay. I just would like to make a comment about the governance calendar and say thank you to you and the executive cabinet because I'm sure the board feels heard in that because we have been asking for that and you found a way to provide it for us in our meetings. And I think I confidently can say that, you know, student achievement is very important to this board. It's one of the two main responsibilities we feel as a board. So I just would like to say thank you for working on that to make that happen. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, I have one more thing back to IDA. I'm just wondering if there is a date stamp, should it be the Monday, the 4th or 5th? I mean, are we thinking of families are still maybe away since school isn't open yet? I was thinking it wasn't a priority, it's just you look at them each one individually, but I'm just, and am I being too sensitive to people maybe are away and if they really want to get there and they might be out of town and then, I don't know. I just wonder if we should start.
I apologize. I think I gave you a visual of bringing in the paperwork because we've had a few people try to do that thus far. The entire process is electronic. So folks will be able to submit the entire thing electronically. I apologize. I gave you that visualization.
Any other questions? Okay. We're going to move on to 11C, Chief Business Officials Budget Update. Dr. Vang.
Thank you. So for tonight's report, I have 5 budget updates that I'd like to share with the board. The first one is around community-funded reserves. St. Helena Unified School District is a community-funded district, also known as a basic aid district. For this particular agenda item, I've included an article provided by School Services of California regarding community-funded reserves and their recommendation. In their recommendation, they discussed the need for community-funded districts such as ours to include and to have higher reserves compared to our neighboring districts, who are state-funded districts or local control funding formula LCFF districts. When you look at the article, it is dated 2017. However, it is an article that has information and a recommendation by School Services of California that is still valid today. So School Services of California strongly endorses their recommendation. Per their recommendation for community-funded districts like ours, they do recommend carrying our typical required 3% reserve for economic uncertainties, in addition to another 33% of excess revenues provided by property taxes. Our district is funded, most of our property tax revenues come from both residential properties and wineries. I had reached out to the Napa County Assessor's Office, hoping to get an updated list of wineries in our boundaries, and our district boundaries, and I was told that that would take some time, and it would come at a cost to the district. So I'm still working on that. But another interesting fact I learned was that wineries and vineyards, like residential properties, can also be reassessed. So not only if they ask for a reassessment, based on their reduced income, it could lower their assessed value, right? So these are all things that I think are critical and important to know as a community-funded district, being that we do have quite a few wineries within our district boundary that feed into our property tax revenues. So I wanted to make sure that I share this with you, and as I get more information, I will continue to bring that forth. When we attend the Schools for Sound Finance Symposium, our annual symposium, I think most of you have attended that symposium with us in Sacramento. We've heard over and over SF Square reiterating this recommendation of the 33% of excess reserves, along with the 3%. So I just wanted to keep this in our forefront as we continue to build our reserves. The second thing that I like to share with the board, I included the last couple of years, the district's contribution, employer contribution for health and welfare, and that would include medical, dental, vision, and life. So you can see there the increase year after year. For the dental and the vision, you'll notice that the rates have remained the same. I do want to clarify that the rates have increased year to year. However, because our school district is part of the School Self-Insurance of Contra Costa County, SISC, mouthful, of that, we're part of the SISC JPA, we get a discount. So as part of the JPA works on all of the district membership's behalf to keep our rates down. So even when the dental and vision rates are going up, we are keeping the same rates because as part of the JPA is taking their reserves and covering the difference. So that is a benefit to us, our district and being part of the SISC JPA. For life insurance, it's remained pretty consistent, and you can see the district's contribution in the last couple of years. The third update, I have brought forth a couple of bill products contracts, some under 25, some over 25, and I believe Vice President Pelosi had inquired about potential discounts with Bell products, so I did look into that. And what I found was that we already have an energy savings agreement in place with Bell products, and I've linked our agreements there and the discounts that we are actually receiving as a school district. And so because we have these agreements in place, when we do use Bell products for our preventative maintenance, mostly for our heat and cooling units, we are getting a discount. So that does help us. So just know that in the future, when you see additional Bell products contracts, we're already getting a discounted rate.
Great.
The fourth item that I wanted to update the board on is water filters. Last month, the city of St. Helena had notified the district that the water department received 2 water violations. We quickly moved to equip all of our water filling stations, including our bubblers, in common areas throughout all 4 sites with filters. And so I am reporting out that as of today, all the common area filling stations and bubblers are now equipped with filters, and then at the primary school, all of the TK and kinder classroom sinks now have filtered water because we've installed filters in all those classrooms. Our little guys, teachers keep them in the classroom. They don't just release them to use the restroom and get water. So this helps them stay within the classroom, but yet still have access to filtered water. Overall, the maintenance department has spent approximately $6,000 on filters, materials, tools for this particular project. I've also included a list of all 4 sites and the locations of these filling stations and or bubblers that have filters in them. The last update is around federal meal reimbursement. Previously, I've shared that for our cafeteria fund, which is Fund 13, we do get meal reimbursements from both from the state and the federal government. Our federal revenue reimbursement is a little over $300,000. With the federal government shutdown, there is a possibility that there may be a delay in future reimbursements from the federal government. So I just want I just want everyone to be aware of that. I will keep everyone posted as you know, things constantly change. The other news is that we have families who receive SNAP benefits, and they may be impacted. However, I've been working with our food service director and Helena so that when we are aware of families who may be impacted or may need support, we have a plan in place. California Department of Education, including Lunch Assist, which is another program that we utilize when it comes to food service. They have provided ideas and strategies as to how we can support students and their families with meals on site. So we have some of those strategies in place to ensure that our students are being fed, they're not hungry, they can focus on learning. So these are my 5 updates for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions?
I just say thank you for all of it, Kay, but I know the water filter put a lot of minds at ease of parents out there in our district. So that was really a great way to take action, and thank you.
I just had a question on so going back to the community-funded reserves, I just wanted to say thank you for the letter. I believe that kind of stemmed from my last business ops meeting. During that time, members asked if the 33% of excess property tax, not 33% of total budget, if that was still valid, that they questioned whether it was outdated, no longer needed. So I appreciate having this, and if we can bring that back to the next business ops meeting, I think it would be useful to kind of ensure that not just the people that attend business ops, but just understand why it exists, why we have that goal. For example, we're using the business ops members didn't know we were using reserves to pay for things like the primary school or the elementary school. So it's useful for them to understand that that's examples of what we're using it for, is to keep our facilities warm, safe, and dry. And it's for things like this. So I don't know if you were both on the board when it was established, but I thank you for having it so that we can fund these projects right now. And I guess what I'd like to make sure we try to do in that meeting and others is really understand, kind of flip the conversation of why wouldn't we have the reserve for unplanned needs. So I guess I really appreciate that. And then secondly, this list, this list of top property, the largest local secure taxpayers within our district, all winery vineyards. If we already have people in Napa County, sorry, not people, if we have wineries in Napa County that are already asking to lower their property tax or their property tax payments, assessments, sorry, thank you, which would lower the property tax payments, we know that's already happening in Napa County, correct? It just may not have happened yet in St. Helena Unified District?
We have not
We
gotten
don't
any
know
firm
yet.
confirmations from the county assessor's office.
I guess I would assume if we have to plan for the worst, that might happen for some of these in our top taxpayer list. We have no idea when that could happen, right? I mean, so that's kind of scary in terms of the revenue that could happen next year in November. I don't know how much of a timeline is, so I'm trying to think of how do we prepare or how do we know when that could happen? Because this is a big list, and if that's the largest majority of our revenue, it could be scary, so, all right. So thank you for presenting this, because I hadn't thought about it this way. I think I thought more about the assessments coming from homes and individuals, not from the wineries, so thank you.
Okay, any other comments? No? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to 11D, Superintendent Subcommittee Reports. And since our last meeting, we had the Monrovia meeting on October 16th and the student experience on October 23rd. Let's start with Monrovia, since that came first. And Dr. McClay and I attend the Monrovia meetings. Some new things we're doing now is Jody and I are creating a agenda, an actual document. We have felt like, over the last year or so, we all have such great intentions, but getting our group to actually move forward with projects has been a little tricky, and so setting an agenda has made a real difference.
Okay.
For example, at our last meeting, during our last meeting, we took inventory of what each organization is doing to support our youth. For example, what is your industry offering? And then we also shared out what is a concern or challenge your industry has for supporting our youth. So we all shared our challenges and concerns. And those two items took quite a bit of time.
Okay.
So Jody and I took a lot of notes, and then Ms. Madrigal put them into one document. And when we meet in December, we're going to all of us are going to take a look at the notes, notice any takeaways after reviewing the notes, and then we're going to talk about what we'd like to see Monrovia accomplish for children and adolescents. We're spending a lot of more time with middle school and high school students. As a group, we felt that St. Helena does a great job at supporting children. We have Parks and Rec, we have the library, we have private organizations like Nimbus. But when we get to that 8th grade to high school age, we're trying to see what we can do better to make St. Helena more exciting, more opportunities for social gatherings and things for kids that are older that doesn't involve their parents. So we always love young adult comments. So Andy, I'm probably gonna be talking to you. And then we're gonna decide on 2 goals that we can tackle to help us create a redefined purpose for Monrovia. So that's more to come in December. And then we'll assign tasks for those goals and move from there. Anything you wanted to add to that? Oh, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say that it was fascinating to see that so many different city groups and industries represented, but there was an amazing crossover of themes that came out when each group shared their concerns for our youth. So clearly, mental health, anxiety, screen time, a lot of the things that our schools are doing some amazing things to address, but just from a citywide perspective, I thought it was fascinating to see that we all shared a lot of the same concerns, particularly for those students kind of at the adolescent age. And so that's what I think the group is probably going to lean toward, coming up with some types of activities and things that multiple groups from throughout the city can get involved in to help address that.
Great. All righty. Excuse me. Okay, and then we had our, on October 23rd, we had our student experience, and Trustee Kerr and Trustee Pelosi attended that meeting.
Okay, Trustee Curry, I'll get us started. So there's really great things happening in this committee. And I think I had the benefit because I had missed the last couple of meetings due to work commitments. But when I came into this last one, the progress this committee they've gotten far. So just as a refresher, we've been broken out into 3 groups. One was like equity walks, focus groups, oh my gosh, empathy interviews. Thank you, I apologize that. And each one of those groups within that committee have made great strides in doing equity walks on campus. They've done them at all 4 schools. And I'm not gonna right now give you the breakdown of the bullet points because we're still assembling this data, deciding what happens next. Focus group questions that were asked of our students, and the feedback was amazing. And again, you'll get the themes once the committee decides how to put those themes into action. But as I made a comment at that meeting, that getting that real-time feedback is significantly more valuable than even sometimes what we hear from Healthy Kids Survey. I mean, it was just really impactful. And then the, why am I drawing? Thank you, empathy interviews. Same kind of task of finding out what's working, what they're looking for, what they feel might be a void on their campuses. And then we really did put it all together into one giant document, and then we'll get back together at the next meeting and say, okay, these are the themes. We've heard from our students. We've seen what's happening on our campuses. Now, granted, with the teachers and the staff that are observing like these equity walks, they're doing this in the course sometimes of their workday. So keep in mind that they're not walking the entire campus all day long to see every section. It might be observing in the quad for one time, or it might be observing the lunch recess at the primary school, something like that. So they sometimes are a little small in scope, but what is coming out of them is pretty, it's very interesting, and it'll be pretty powerful, I think, as this committee decides what will be next. And I know I'm sounding vague, but I have to kind of leave you with that carrot.
No, it's exciting.
So that when the next information comes down with the themes and the actions, it'll make sense to you. But I don't want to give you high, vague things right now that won't make much sense. And please add to that.
And just a couple of things, though. I think that this, right now, in December, which is great, because we've had maybe 3 or 4 meetings now, I believe that our subcommittee is feeling that we're making tremendous strides this year as far as kind of the information that we're receiving. The next question is kind of what are we going to be, what are the themes and threads emerging? What are we going to be doing with those? That's kind of the question with that. And then I think that I'm hearing from our subcommittee members saying this is really meaningful work, and so that really says a lot right there. So that's all I wanted to add with that. Yeah, and I'm on the focus group committee, and just for an example, we've had a focus group of two different groups, one last year, one this year, and same questions, and it is for like what Trustee Pelosi said. it's amazing the things that you hear and what is said, and it's a lot different than the Healthy Kids Survey because it's just right now, it's relevant right now. So it's really, I really enjoy being on the subcommittee. We're doing really good work right now.
I think the students feel very comfortable and safe in speaking to those staff members who also are conducting these conversations, which is huge because I think that's why we're getting some of the honest feedback that we're getting. Good and challenging. There's both sides of it, but it's great. So, and the committee is very happy. So, thank you very much.
Andy, have you been participating in any of the work that this committee's done? Have you been interviewed or know of the interviews or seen the empathy walks?
I've seen them around, yeah. I think a few weeks ago, I was in English and I saw them walk through.
Okay.
And, yeah, but I've seen them around,
Okay.
yes.
Just curious.
But I do want to say that your name has been brought up, so you might be. So thank you. I'm glad you're interested.
I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to ask, so the equity walks are at each campus, and then, sorry, there's 3 things: equity walks, empathy interviews, and focus groups? And they're all at all 4 sites, or are only the equity walks at the 4 sites? I'm trying. Is it
Oh, okay, that's a
actually
great
primary
question.
school, elementary
So,
school?
equity walks, yes, are occurring on all 4 campuses. The focus groups, I believe, have focused first on high school students. And I think their goal was to branch to middle school next. What happens in a focus group is very similar, if not identical, to what happens in an empathy interview, except that the focus group is kind of envisioned maybe 12 to 15 students at the same time opening up and answering these questions and getting a dialogue going. The empathy interviews, very similar, if not identical questions, but one-on-one. So it's just one student with an adult.
Okay, thank you.
And how are the students chosen? Is it random? Do they volunteer, or do you just say, hey, will you talk to us? Or
Each
how?
group did a phenomenal job of identifying a very randomized, but yet specific in the sense that they didn't want to hear from all students, who are very similar in profile.
Right.
So they really worked hard. Josefina in Mrs. Romo Flores' office worked with the counselors to get names of students who met a whole variety of different criteria and then randomly selected a few from each category. So I'm really confident and feel good about how each group went about selecting. So they have a wide berth.
And I can actually give you, just briefly, when the equity walks are happening, this is what what am I trying to say, the facilitator, if you will, is looking at. How many students do you see alone? Are students hanging out in mixed ethnic or self-segregated groups? Adults, are adults visible? Do the adults interact with students? If so, friendly manner or only to redirect? Do students appear to treat each other with respect? Is there any visible messaging to students like signs? If so, are the messages positive, encouraging, or motivating? So those are kind of the questions that the observer will walk around and take note of and share back with the group. And that's what few of the staff have already done those, and then they've come back and shared with their group. So, okay. All right.
Okay, we're going to move on. 11E, St. Helena Teachers Association report to the board, and I'd like to call on Mr. Lulsdorf.
Good evening, trustees.
Good evening.
Soccer practice, so hence the get up. And we've been fortunate with the weather so far this year. So far so good, even though it's a little wet today, but it's all good. So we have concluded negotiations, and I wanted to thank the board for kind of channeling the process, and that it was tough but fair, and I think it still honors what I think is really important is a collaborative relationship with the members, the teacher members, and the district. I think that's the best way to find solutions, and I think that's what we ultimately came up with. And I spoke to Dr. McClay afterwards, kind of a little debriefing, and just in speaking of that kind of collaboration, we thought it would be a good opportunity now, because we're not in negotiations, to meet with a few board members, myself and maybe another SHTA member, and just sit down and kind of go over formula-based approach to wages, and just to see how it works, and to kind of hear our perspective in a situation where that's not loaded with negotiations hanging over it. And that was her suggestion. I'm not sure if it would be in like a subcommittee or some type of thing like that, but I would encourage, I'll reach out to the, Simon, and see if that works for you, and find a way to facilitate that in the next couple of months would be wonderful. And I'm hoping that you guys are open to that. And again, that spirit of collaboration, I think, is really, again, that's ultimately what I always hope to do with the union. I think oftentimes I hear about these other sites, it's so antagonistic in other school sites, and I really don't believe in that approach. I think it's just counterproductive. It's not how we've done things in this district historically, and I think ultimately that's what makes this a great place to work, a great place for parents to send kids to. It just works all around, and I would like to keep that spirit going. So that's my reach out to you guys. All right. Otherwise, I hope we have a nice segue into the holiday season here coming up. School starts to go really fast here, so things, the next thing we know, it's January. So, but it would probably be sometime in January if that works. I know it's kind of the holiday season. So, anyways, that's what I would hope to be able to do. So, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Lillisdorf. All righty, 11F, California School Employees Association, number 287, report to the board. Do we have a CSEA representative? Yes, we do.
Good evening. I've been asked to speak to you on behalf of Chapter 287 of CSEA. Our president is currently traveling, and our representative who had planned to speak for him today did have to go home sick, so I would just like to apologize to the board on behalf of CSEA.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, items 11G, H, I, and J are written reports from our school principals, and as always, we thank you for these reports, and we always look forward to reading about what is happening on campus with staff and students and the parent volunteers who help support the school sites. So thank you so much. We're going to move on to 12A, adoption of resolution 25-12, commitment to anti-racism. And I would appreciate if Mr. Martinez would like to read the resolution.
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Salem Unified School District Resolution 25-12, commitment to anti-racism. Whereas, as schools have the responsibility to equip students with their civil right of obtaining a free and appropriate public education, it is the responsibility of each school to ensure we create a welcoming, safe, and educationally enriching community for all students. And whereas it is the responsibility of Salem Unified School District to ensure that annually professional development on diversity, equity, and inclusion is provided to all staff and committee members. And whereas we are committed to recruiting and retaining a diverse and culturally responsive workforce, and whereas we will continue to examine our policies for institutional and systemic racialized practices and implement change with sustainable policies that are evidence-based. And whereas we are committed to incorporating into the curriculum the history of racial oppression and works from other diverse perspectives, and whereas we as school leaders have a moral and institutional responsibility to name and address acts of racism and hate that continue to plague our public and private institutions. Therefore, be it resolved that Salem Unified School District will hold ourselves and our community accountable to putting words into action and ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion are embedded in our institutions and practiced by and for our students. families, and staff. This resolution affirms the district's collective responsibility across all human differences to create a school community where the oppressed are heard and treated with the same care and respect as those who are not oppressed.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
No.
Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 25-12, Commitment to Anti-Racism as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Andy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Yes.
Great. Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 12B, discussion of district goals and proposed metrics. Dr. McClay.
Okay, this is a continuation of our study session on October 20th. If you will recall, the board landed on 5 district goals or district strategic goals, if you will. Thank you. The first one was under the category of student achievement. We've wordsmithed these just a tad, a couple little changes here and there. But mainly tonight, I would just like to make sure that you are either good with these or that we revise them. So the goal statements over on the left, one being in the category of student achievement, one in school culture, then we have learning environment, staff, and fiscal responsibility. The second part of the conversation, if you will, is that staff would like guidance on the benchmarks or the metrics that you see on the right-hand side of this grid. These are simply ideas where we have brainstormed things that we would utilize to show you progress or lack thereof in each of these categories. So we just want to be sure that we're on the right path, that this is in fact what you are envisioning, and then move forward.
Okay. This will begin discussion.
I don't know
We
if
don't
it
have
is.
that for this one, yeah. Good question, though. I have a question about student achievement. I see that grades is a possible benchmark, or is a benchmark. How would you present that information to the board?
So I think right now we put potentially in June, if I recall, on the draft governance calendar, a look at grade distribution, which we would most likely do at the secondary level. That's what districts typically do. So you're looking to see what percentage of our students are earning A's, B's, C's, D's, F, et cetera. Are there patterns associated with those? Obviously we want to be careful of grade inflation and grade deflation, but grades do tell us how students are doing ultimately in connection with
Right.
performance standards. You can then compare grades to standardized test scores. Typically, you would see some sort of alignment, but they can be telling. So we're just suggesting that we take a look at it if we haven't in the past.
I appreciate looking at grade distribution because the messaging is that the CASP is that once-a-year assessment tool that is a snapshot. And we've received good information about, if kids are giving it their full effort when they've got, a final the next day, or they know they're not being graded on it. So I appreciate that. We'll take a look at grade distribution to help us. Local assessment data, besides the STAR, what else does that include?
Probably this year, just the STAR, and I think we added later in that list the early STAR literacy. Perhaps we could look at our reading screener for all students at the primary school. There's a variety of local. We could look at common formatives or common summatives. I mean, all of that is categorized as local.
Okay. Or like I know sometimes we see how many students started in tier 3 or tier 2 and then moved out. Is that considered a?
It could be, yes.
I'm just.
Could be.
Can you explain student course loads? Discussed that before.
Student course loads, we've discussed it a little bit in terms of, are students taking a full course load? Are they on a modified course load, meaning they might have a non-academic period? How many periods in their day are considered academic versus elective or open? Those kinds of things.
Got it, thanks. Yeah, you're right, we have talked about that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask one? The four-year university enrollment, why I wholeheartedly support and endorse that every student should leave our district prepared and qualified and capable to attend. I also think it's important that maybe even a benchmark is, you know, even those who are going to a 2-year program, or are they going to a trade program? That's still achievement. It may look a little different, but it's achievement. And I think just focusing on 4-year university enrollment is not including everybody.
It's a great catch. That was not intentional.
Okay.
So, yep.
Okay.
I'm thinking here maybe completed pathways, because we have many pathways at or several pathways. in our
We can add
district.
that. Great. I think oftentimes, at least in my experience, our benchmarks are going to be a little more fluid than the goals, you know?
Right.
And so I like that this is a working list.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those as well. So, you know, maybe how it's incorporated, and now that we have it in the governance calendar, you know, we may see some of these bullet points all throughout the year at different times. That's how I envision it.
Absolutely.
I was kind of curious between achievement and school culture. Like in school culture, we have the graduation data by subgroup, A to G enrollment, completion. To me, that feels more like achievement than school culture. Or is that just me? Like when we talk about supported, caring climate, rich with connections, I think of that not necessarily as academic, as more the culture of the school, or no? You're all looking at me like she's crazy.
No, I
No, not at all.
To me, there's a lot of crossover. Like that's more achievement to me than culture. I mean,
It
it's a
can be,
different way to look at
absolutely.
it,
There's lots of ways to look at it.
Yeah.
Like Trustee Morris said, I think a part of it is what they're seeing in the Student Experience Committee, right? Is making sure that all of our students have access and exposure and the same opportunities. But there is a lot of crossover.
And I think part of the, maybe one lens to look at that is there a culture on campus that everybody feels like, I could totally take that AP class, or I could totally take that, you know.
Makes sense.
You know,
Yeah.
is there that kind of supportive environment, like, you could do it, get in that class, you could do it.
that's a good.
I think
good
that's
angle.
kind of
Okay. Thank you.
looking
That
at that
makes
way.
sense, Lisa.
I was thinking with school culture, parent engagement or family engagement.
There's just parent survey on the next page. But that's,
But I think engagement's
It's-
important too.
Yeah, that's a good word with it.
With the staff survey and parent survey, are those from existing surveys, or would these be new?
No, these are basically just ideas of things that can measure that goal statement.
Okay,
So not necessarily that we already do all of these things.
okay.
I did not have time to really think about the metrics side before today. But I did want to say that in the fiscal responsibility area, I wanted, I guess my thought process was adding in things that are more about the board and how we operate and what we are doing to be fiscally responsible, because I think a lot of these things on here are really about the CBO role and state mandates. So I don't have an example other than, like, are we monitoring our 33% target, right? So are we no more than, I'm just going to throw out 5% over budget in our interim reports? I don't know what I want to throw out, but I'm just giving an example with numbers that I'm making up, but something for us to use as measuring our decision-making on fiscal responsibility, because I feel like a lot of these are really more about K, so to speak, that department, and not necessarily how we are judging ourselves on fiscal responsibility, but I don't know how to differentiate that.
Interesting,
Well,
yeah.
I see what you're going, but I also, these are district goals, they're not board goals.
Right, yes, so,
Okay.
but we have a board goal
Yeah.
for 33% reserves.
Correct. Okay.
Does that belong here? I don't know.
Can you have something board goals strategically aligned
Well, it's
with
district.
district goals?
It's
or-
district, they
yeah.
are our district goals, or the budget, I don't know. It's just, that's the feeling that the fiscal responsibility side is, I don't know how, I don't see our input in that other than attending the meetings, approving the budget, and it feels like it's a lot more than that.
Sure.
That's all, that's where I'm feeling a little disconnected on
Yeah.
those metrics.
And maybe it's as simple as a bullet point that says something to the effect, this is not polished by any stretch of the imagination, but like ensuring and securing financial reserves, per board policy,
Yeah. I don't, I get, so,
Something-
I know I'm not being useful because I'm not providing an example, but
And I'm not
I would
helping,
like
I'm
to,
pro-
no, but it's, are we approving budgets that are fiscally sound for the 3 projected years? I don't know what it is, but I just wanted to say that that's what's going through my head, and I didn't have the time to draft it up.
When is our next meeting for this?
December,
We had planned to bring these back on December 11th to formally adopt the goal statements on the left.
Yeah.
We
So
don't
I'm
have to
fine with the
formally
goal
adopt the
statements, yes.
metrics.
Okay.
So,
When would be a time in the future where we could have more of a discussion about the metrics?
what would you think if I take them back to cabinet, particularly with the financial or fiscal responsibility one, and we look at that kind of through the board's lens versus district administration's lens, and see if we can't come up with some additional ones, and we can discuss those again on the 11th?
Yeah, I mean, since these are fluid and these are not what we're really ultimately approving.
Right.
We're just I think, to your point, Dr. McClay, is that this is a living, breathing, this side is living, breathing, and subject to modification, additions, deletions. So I think if you can just simply work in something that addresses the reserves, it sounds like that's the main thing maybe to add in there. And if there's anything else, get them to you within the next couple of weeks so that we can finalize them at December. Does that make sense?
and I'll do a little more homework.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's just polishing those thoughts, and when
Yeah.
you're thinking, that's,
Okay.
you're more than capable of
Yeah,
that, so,
just have to do it.
yeah. But, yeah, I mean,
But everybody's good with the verbiage on the district goals over on the left?
Yes.
We like
yes,
that?
yes.
Great,
I do, very much.
Thank you
thank you.
very much for this.
Any other questions? Any questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to student learning and achievement, and we have 13A, presentation of the 2025-26 school plan for student achievement for St. Helena Primary School. Mrs. Rocha.
Good evening. Superintendent Dr. McClay, members of the board. This is the report for the primary school on our SIPSA plan. This is just a snapshot of our enrollment of our students. I won't read it to you. I added some data slides. This is the first time that we administered the STAR. This was the early literacy benchmark. So the green is at or above, blue is on watch, yellow is intervention, and red is urgent. We have lots of local assessments, almost too many local assessments. So we don't base our instruction on this data. But I did just want to provide this since we administered it for the first time in September. We'll be administering it again in December, and we'll definitely be looking at growth. We definitely pay attention to this. We just don't target our instruction based on this. We do progress monitoring cycles every 6 weeks for math and reading intervention. So this is just a snapshot in first grade. That's any student that's receiving intervention from our reading intervention specialists. This is just first grade in that first progress monitoring cycle. That would have been the first 6 weeks of the school year. Not the beginning, we didn't start intervention right away, but just how many we started with in first grade, how many met their goals, how many exited. And of course that fluctuates every 6 weeks. This was our data for second grade, how many students we started with in that first cycle, and then who met their goals and who was ready to exit. That was for reading. For goal 1, and these are the same goals that the district has for the LCAP. I won't read these to you. A lot of these goals you are familiar with. I do want to highlight that we just returned this Monday, I think, from the RTI conference. It seems like it was a while ago, but it was last week. And even though we went last year we took our MTSS team, and we really felt strongly that we needed to go with a team of teachers, because the only teachers that went last year was our intervention teacher. And we thought, we need to come back to this conference with classroom teachers. And it was, we learned, even though I was there last year, I just came back with so many new learnings and tweaks that we can make to our systems. And that was really impactful, that we also got to go with the elementary school and RLS. And we actually spent time as a TK8 team talking about some structures that we can implement district-wide TK8. One of the things that was recommended at the CAPS network to be a high level team or high level PLC school is to do peer observations with teachers. So we set up 2 release days. Actually, the November one's going to be on math, and the December one will be on literacy. And basically what we did is we just did a survey, and we asked all the teachers, who do you want to observe, or what type of lesson do you want to observe at our school? And so then we went through a complicated process of creating a schedule with 2 subs and different people to release the teachers with myself to then observe each other. So that will be happening in these next 2 months. A celebration that I want to highlight is that last year, working with Brandon Amy from Solution Tree, we created with the elementary school as well a school-wide master schedule that outlines when our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 and English language development is happening every day for every grade. We used to have, of course, grade levels had their individual schedules. We didn't necessarily have Tier 2 anywhere on a schedule. And so now we have one Excel spreadsheet that has every grade level and their daily schedule, which includes those. We really wanted to make sure that we could articulate, especially when Tier 2 and Tier 3 instruction was happening, so that students were never losing that Tier 1 instruction when they received Tier 2 or Tier 3. So that is a celebration for our school. This is the second goal, which you're familiar with. I've already these are our actions that go with the goal. I've already talked a little bit about our MTSS team, but we do meet every Wednesday, and we go through every week. We are monitoring different groups of students. So every week we always talk about, we always look at our attendance. We always look at, are there any new students, the homeless students? Are there any newcomer students? Are there any new students that have been referred to MTSS? Is there anyone in crisis? We look at our behavior data for that week. So that's part of our process. And then we go through each week, basically a different group of students. One week we're monitoring academics. The next week we're monitoring social emotional. The next week behavior. And then we have a document with all of any student that has been referred to our team on that, we call it a tracker. And so we're documenting every 6 weeks how those students are doing. And if we need, we can move them off of our tracker because we no longer need to monitor them. So we can strongly say that no student will fall through the cracks at our site. Something that we started this year was providing mini professional development at our staff meetings on neurodiverse learners and effective teaching strategies. Our teachers are really struggling with students with behaviors, students that have attention difficulties, even if they don't have a diagnosis. We're just seeing an increase of students that have a hard time focusing, paying attention, sitting still, and some behaviors that there's more students with these needs than we've seen before. So we're taking time in our staff meeting for our behaviorist counselor, Dana Sabin, to just go over strategies, effective strategies on teaching kids with these needs, since we're seeing a higher percentage in our classrooms. It's just a way to support our staff with that. And then our other way that we're maintaining a welcoming and nurturing school environment is all of the different things that we do to honor our different groups of students. So I would say one of the celebrations, and our community groups, one of our big celebrations is that a lot of times in the years past, and still I would say like PTG and our ELAC parents, that our Spanish-speaking parents don't really participate in PTG in the meetings, but something that they've done the last 2 years as a way to contribute is fundraising at the Fiesta de Octubre. And last year, they raised $1,500 in selling food that they made. This year, it was $1,000. So even if they're not able to come to those meetings, and they are contributing. So that's a celebration. Our goal 3 is about increasing educational partner engagement. We do a handful of family education events. They're not all at night. It could range from this coming week, we have Math and Muffins, where parents are coming into the classroom and they're learning hands-on math games to play with their kids at home. We do a family library night. We do parents come in and read for Read Across America. I can't remember we do a math night at Safeway. Really, our parent education nights, our events this year are really about, it's not so much about targeting parents and teaching them skills in a structured class that they're going to then go and work with their kids at home on. We're hoping with these engaging activities, we're hoping that they will work on those things at home. But I think when I think about this goal and the activities that we do, it's also about just partnering with parents, especially since we're the first school in the district that they come to, just being that welcoming environment and meeting them where they are so that they can be those advocates for their children. Because when I think about the most impactful form of parent engagement is parent advocacy. So if they feel comfortable at our school, especially our immigrant parents or parents who haven't gone to school in this country, they're going to be able to go on to the next school and feel like they can ask questions, they can advocate for their kids so that they can be successful academically. This year, we're also excited about just the Anxious Generation workshops, really that Helena and I are offering to the whole district. We really want to plant the seed at the primary school for that phone-free childhood, but in the workshops, we're getting parents from all the schools. And it's really not going to be a one-year thing. I don't know that we can sustain the workshops every year, but just the message and the idea of hopefully building a culture of getting kids off of devices at a young age and planting that seed, hopefully will start to spill out into the community. So we have a total of 3 workshops, and then our celebration is that I found 2 parents to lead the book group. They're only going to meet twice because we have to make this attainable and not overextend people. But I thought that was just, we don't have to do it all. So we thought, you know what, we can do these educational workshops. And so we leaned on 2 parents in our community, one who is bilingual. They've met once, and I think the English group had about 17 people and the Spanish group had about 8, and that was at the public library. So that's a celebration for us that now we are kind of fostering parent leaders. Another thing that sounds simple, our school did not have any sort of handbook, any sort of written handbook for parents. Everything was just known, I guess. Like, how do you, call for an absence, or do you have a dress code? What are the school rules? And so I think it was just one day in June that a team of teachers and myself just sat down and we just hammered out a handbook. And I think it's about 30 pages. So we found there was quite a bit. I don't know that anyone's read it, but if someone has a question, it's there. We wanted to make sure all of those official things were documented. And then Kathy and I, Mrs. O'Connor and I, do a bilingual coffee chat every month. We don't get the best turnout, but we do have very meaningful conversations with parents, and really they're the ones that form the agenda. With that, are there any questions or comments?
Public comment.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry. No. We can just start having a discussion. Go ahead, Trustee Wolf.
Sure. Okay. Just one quick question at the beginning. You were talking about the number of students that were, you were observing. You said you didn't start at the beginning of the year. Were these students like from last year, like at the end of first grade, there were X amount, and that's how they started second grade? So they were kind of...
Yes, that's a great question. I believe we started groups right after Labor Day because the teachers really wanted that time to create those environments in their classroom. But that's a great question. Any student that was receiving Tier 3 support the previous year automatically starts the year with that support.
Okay.
Yeah, in first and second grade.
I had a question on your data slide. I just wanted to make sure, because if I look at it, I guess if I go back to your number of students per class, is it fair to say that every column is a student? Or do you have, the star slide?
Oh.
So is every column a student, or would you have two students in one column if they both got 100%, just as an example?
Oh, that's a good question. That's for the grade level.
Yeah.
So it should equate to, and everyone took the test.
A column per student, like.
Yes.
Is it fair to assume that in first grade, is that like 60% of students are green?
Yes.
I'm trying to.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question about looking at first and second grade, the students that are receiving reading intervention.
Yes.
Just to clarify, the intervention teachers are only servicing kids that are Tier 3, or at St. Helena, is it Tier 2? And 3?
Yeah, I know sometimes the definition varies. So at our school, so Jocelyn Ivanoff, who's our reading specialist, she serves students that need Tier 3 support. So
These are less than 10%? Are about achieving at about less than 10%?
Yes.
Okay. So our students that are lower, like 10 to 25%, are receiving Tier 2 intervention class with their classroom teacher?
So the way that
Trying to understand how it's done. At
the way that we're doing it right now, and we just had a meeting today. Actually, we had about 2 meetings with different grade levels in our ILT. Because we have that second TOSA, the gift of our second teacher on special assignment, who is Caitlin Levine. So for example, in second grade right now, the students do walk to read. So in second grade, everyone's regrouping for reading. Mm-hmm. They do that a little bit in first grade, but it's not the entire grade level. So I'll just talk about second grade. So the students that are considered Tier 2, so they're working close to within grade level span, they are receiving right now a reading group 4 days a week with a classroom teacher, and then they're also meeting with Caitlin Levine for a group, so they're really meeting 8 times a week. Okay. And the conversation that we had after coming back from RTI is that right now we don't have instructional aides in kindergarten. We also have larger classes than we've had in the past. Larger for us, 22. So it makes more sense. We don't need those Tier 2 students to be seen twice a day. They're working within grade level range. Okay. So we had the conversation today about having Caitlin support in kindergarten and thinking about some sort of walk to read in kindergarten after she visited McPherson. So we're just constantly, as we learn new things, we're looking at how we can tweak things so that we can maximize our staff and provide our students with the most support.
Okay. I do have to say, these intervention numbers are really lovely. They're just so low.
And I mean, there are also, just to be totally transparent, there are some students that will join, you know, so
Sure,
it's not
sure.
to say that just because they leave, nobody else comes,
Right.
you know,
But
gets
I don't
bumped
look at
down.
these numbers and think crisis. I think very doable, lovely supports, which is just a lovely situation.
Yes, many supports. And that was a takeaway from RTI, which we did hear last year, but I think it hit home more today, was that tier 2 ideally is twice a week meeting in a small group with the teacher, and our teachers are doing that 4 times a week. Wow. The only reason they can't do it 5 is because we have specials. But so our students are getting more than, you know, for tier 2 than what they're saying they should get. So they're getting a lot of support.
I have one more question for you. I want, you know, earlier you mentioned you're seeing students struggle with behavior and focus, and I hear what you're saying, and I see it as well more than I did 20 years ago in the classroom. I have my own opinions of why that is, but I was curious as to what you think might be going on and how that can be addressed with parents. I don't know if you have any idea. I'm just
Well, I do. I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of how I can articulately explain it. I think it's what I can say is that it's really can be demoralizing for the teachers. And so we're trying to figure out how to support them, because all the tricks that they have had before, they feel like aren't working. Or maybe before there was 1 student that couldn't sit still, and now there's 4. So actually one of the things that we're doing, which I don't know if this answers your question as to why, but one of the recommendations from the CAPS network was Dr. Cruz talked about forming a task force to address a problem. And so the problem that came to our mind was this situation with our teachers in our classrooms. And so we formed a task force, which is people that are not on the guiding coalition. And we're studying this phenomenon. And so we did a questionnaire, and we just analyzed the results on Wednesday. When are you seeing these issues? What day of the week? What subject? Is it that they can't keep their hands to themselves? Is it that they're blurting out? Like, let's try to pinpoint what specifically are the biggest issues. And then the next steps is that we're going to try to figure out how to support them in teaching these students. And we also talked about, like, well, how much is that impacting their achievement? Yeah. Is it more of an annoyance? Are they still achieving? Are they interrupting their own learning? Are they interrupting the learning of others? Maybe it's also a mindset shift, because we don't see this changing unless our society changes. I mean, I do personally think, which is why I really wanted to do that anxious generation push, is that so many kids are spending time on devices at a very young age, and just tuning out. And so,
well, I appreciate the task force. I appreciate the book club for parents, more information for parents about, I think that instant gratification on devices makes it very difficult for some children to be able to sit and listen and learn and not just be distracted or distract other learners in the classroom. So I appreciate that you're addressing that crisis, because it's not going away.
yeah, and we do bring it up with parents. We do have SST meetings, so student study team meetings, but it is a very touchy subject. Yeah. Some parents are, okay, we'll just start with, like, why don't you visit your pediatrician and seek an evaluation? Sure. It's just a questionnaire. It would just give us more information. We can do a 504 plan, but surprisingly, many parents do not want to do that. They don't even want to get, do the evaluation. And if we don't mention medication or anything, but I think parents assume that that's the direction that we're going in. But we do have those conversations, but they are not always easy.
No, they are not. But thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments?
No, but I want to share my appreciation as well. Thank you very much for everything, and I'm always very appreciative of how you and your team are always so thoughtful and flexible with your programs, the schedule and curriculum, in order to meet the needs of all of our youngest students. So, and I really truly mean that, because you always come and you have a lot of experience and ideas and changes in order to make things better, and I really appreciate that. I'm thankful. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Thank
I
you,
do
Mrs.
love
Rocha.
that student's Lego yellow glasses. I just want to go on the record.
I know, he's so cute.
Those are really great, great
awesome.
glasses.
Okay, we're going to move on to 13B. It's a written report on the St. Helena High School Wellness Center, and I would like to remind the board that this is a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
No?
I don't, but I know that the students that are the ambassadors there are really excited about the position that they're in, and they're always, I think that they're going to be bringing in a lot of students into the Wellness Center because of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Kerr, for those comments. We're going to move on to Human Resources. 14A, review and request for approval of AB 1200 public disclosure documents associated with tentative agreement between SHTA and SHUSD. I'd like to call on Dr. Vang.
Thank you. I'm bringing forth AB 1200, which is the Public Disclosure and Financial Certification Requirements for the collective bargaining agreement between the district and SHTA. Should the board approve this agreement, the increase will be as follows. For this fiscal year, it will be a 2% retroactive to July 1st. And on the salary schedule, plus a 2% increase effective January 1st, 2026. And then there are reopeners for the subsequent years. I've also provided the board with hard copies of the SHTA salary schedules for the first 2% retroactive to July 1st of 2025. Next month in December, I will bring back the second salary schedule, which will include the 2% salary increase effective January 1st. Thank you.
Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Is there a motion to approve the AB 1200 public disclosure documents associated with the tentative agreement between SHTA and SHUSD as presented?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 14B, consideration of approval of the collective bargaining tentative agreement with SHTA for the period of July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. Mr. Heller.
So we are pleased to share the mutually agreed upon language, which will be added to the SHTA collective bargaining agreement, which was finalized in October with SHTA leadership. Our process did take a little bit more time than anticipated, but in the end, we've developed a contract that extends through June of 2028. And within that agreement, both parties will reopen articles in the spring of 2026 and 2027 in Articles 7, leaves, Article 12, hours of work, and Article 14, wages. This current agreement has been ratified by SHTA membership and is presented for the governing board's approval. And prior to that, I just want to take a moment to recognize and mutually agree with Mark that our conversations, our deliberation was professional and always with a lens of understanding one another and positions. And so I want to thank him, Evan Blassingame and Angie Bond for their work on the committee. And I also want to thank and recognize our team, Kay Vang and Andrew Ryan, for their support in this process as well. So it's not just a Mark and Chris thing. It's our teams that get together and help us, analyze and work through some of the difficult points. So I present this tonight for the governing board's consideration of approval.
Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item? Is there a motion to approve the collective bargaining tentative agreement with SHTA for the period of July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. 14C, consideration of approval for the 2025-26 seniority list for CSEA employees, classified management, and confidential personnel. Mr. Heller.
Yeah, this action item establishes an annual ranking order for classified employees, establishing seniority in the district based on their hire date. If there was a situation that would require layoffs, this list determines which employees of least seniority would be considered first in that process. It's been presented to CSEA Chapter 287 membership for their review and is presented as a final document tonight. So I would ask the board to approve this list as presented.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who wishes to publicly comment on this agenda item? Do the trustees have any questions about this agenda item?
I do, and I don't know if it's confidential, if I'm allowed to ask, but I was just looking at the classified management and confidential seniority. And if it's based on hire date, I'm noticing the third person on the list is our newest hire, or does it not? Am I?
Yeah, so it's within categories.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah, otherwise you'd just be looking at certain positions if there's a
Okay.
position of one. But otherwise, categories that have multiple positions would have the seniority ranking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should have asked you that last week.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2025-26 seniority list for CSEA employees, classified management, and confidential personnel as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carried. Okay, we're going to take a look at 15A, future agenda items. Do the trustees have any subjects for future agenda items?
I do. It kind of goes back to the governing board calendar item, but I felt that I should bring it up here. One of the things that we had talked about as a board, it's probably before you were here, Dr. McClay, was when we committed to PLCs, we understood that each school was at a different level of implementation. And one of the things that we had asked for was to honor that each school was at a different place and to understand what their implementation plan looked like, because PD's different, who's doing what at any given time is different. We made a commitment to change to early release Wednesdays for RLS on the high school, and we're maybe 1.5 years in. I guess what I would appreciate is I don't have a grasp of, I feel like I know where primary school is, even though they're in the continuous improvement cycle. I don't have a good grasp for where, more specifically, RLS and the high school are. So I don't know if there is some sort of a plan of attainment. I don't know how you track attainment in PLC. Is it by question? Is it by level of process? But I don't know how to measure the success. Are we getting to where we should be 1.5 years in for each school? Because I know that path is different. So I don't know what to ask for other than what is, and maybe if there is no plan, can we create one and start tracking? Are we on path for what our goals are?
I think that our individual school ILTs have done and continue to do a pretty phenomenal job of guiding the work at their sites with their site leaders. Perhaps, and you pointed out the primary school, perhaps because they presented tonight and touched upon a lot of that. Thank you, Mrs. Rocha.
Right.
But maybe we can ask the next three principals who are coming forward to do their SIPSAs to include that element, since it is a large part of the work that they're doing. Would that kind of
Yeah,
be a
'cause it's
first step or suffice?
It's a slide, if they're reporting on goal 1, student achievement.
Exactly.
And LCAP is, or sorry, not LCAP, sorry. The PLC is part of it. I just don't know, where we are in the implementation, especially at the higher levels.
And I have the benefit of sitting with them
Right.
at the CAP sessions and with Dr. Amy over here at the high school. So I think that might be a first step, is to have them include a little
great.
bit. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Any other future agenda items? Okay, and I just want to let the board members know I will not be at the next board meeting, and Vice President Pelosi will be leading the charge. Okay, we've come to that time. We have not come to that time, but I would like to say goodbye and safe travels to everyone in our audience. Thank you so much. Okay. Board members, we will head back into closed session.
Yeah, we have one.